In this training video, I will show you exactly how to build a business that runs without you. I've worked so hard to make sure that this works for any business, regardless of what you sell and how big you are. I'll be making specific videos for different business types in the future, but this is the foundation that sits underneath all of them. I'll give you the full system so that you can apply to your new and existing business. We will start with the most expensive problem in business: how to tell if you're really trapped and what running a business without you actually means. Then the few things you should never hand off no matter what. From there, how to find exactly where you are, the bottleneck in your business, put a real price on your time, and get what's in your head into a system someone else can run for you. Then how to hand over the work and the decisions without it all falling apart, who to hire and when, and how to build a weekly rhythm that keeps the whole operation moving without you standing over it. We'll then go over the actions you can do this week to start off the process. By the end of the video, you will have a clear step-by-step plan for removing yourself from the day-to-day running of your business. The system was built on what's worked across hundreds of businesses and backed by the people who have studied this longer than anyone else. The most expensive problem in business. Financial freedom is the reason a lot of us start a business in the first place. We want something that pays us well and gives us our time back so we can work on our own terms and finally have control over our life and our money. But somewhere along the way, it quietly flips. The business that was meant to give you freedom becomes the one thing you can't step away from. The hours seem to get longer, not shorter. Every decision runs through you. You stop running the business and the business starts running you. You become it. This is the most expensive problem in business, and most founders never realize they have it. They feel the symptoms, the long hours, the stress, but never trace them back to the root cause. Your business should not stop when you stop, and you're not the exception. This is far more common than you think. When business owners are assessed on how much the company depends on them personally, the average comes out at 52%. That number is from Pinnacle Equity Solutions, who ran the assessment across 560 owners. In other words, more than half the business depends on just one person. And it's even worse for most of us because roughly 8 to 10 businesses have no employees at all. It's just the founder alone. You're the product, you're the sales team, the operations, the support desk, the bookkeeper, all in one body. You probably already know this if you take a holiday and you still spend half of it answering messages. There are days where you're too sick to work, and instead of resting, you're anxious because the moment you stop, the money stops with you. Your team waits on your reply before anything moves. You can't remember the last proper week off, and if you stepped away for a month, deep down, you're not sure there will be anything to come back to. This isn't a sign that you work hard, it's a sign that the business can't run without you. Here's a test I want you to run, and not just nod along in this video. If you took 2 weeks off right now, no laptop, no phone, would money still come in when you got back? Would the business still grow? If the answer to this is no, the business owns you, you don't own it. You own a job now. That's the trap. And the cruel part is it gets tighter the more successful you get. More clients means more work, more decisions, all funneling through you until you're working even more hours with less freedom than when you started. Essentially, a job that you cannot quit and you can't even sell. We'll come back to that can't sell part in later chapters because it matters more than you think. What running a business without you actually means. Before we go further, I need to clear up the thing that stops most founders from ever even starting. When I say build a business that runs without you, you might think it means making yourself useless or handing over your life's work to strangers and walking away. That's not it, not even close. Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Revisited draws the line. Inside every founder, there are 3 people: the technician who does the work, the manager who organizes it, and the entrepreneur who sees where it's going. The problem isn't that you are involved. The problem is that you're stuck being the technician doing the work when the business needs you to be the entrepreneur designing it. This is the part most founders tend to miss. The answer isn't to vanish, it's to change the seat that you sit in your business. Gino Wickman and Mark Winters in Rocket Fuel describe the 2 roles every growing business needs: the visionary, who sets the direction and owns the big idea, and the integrator, who runs the day-to-day and turns those ideas into reality. You need to stay the visionary. That part never leaves you. What changes is you bring in an integrator to run the machine so you don't have to. You're not stepping out of the business, you're stepping into the role that only you can play. So here's what running a business without you actually means. The business no longer depends on you to survive the day-to-day. You stay the owner. You still make all the important calls only you should be making. What changes is that your involvement becomes a choice, not a requirement. You work on the business, not on it. So through all of this, the goal isn't to remove yourself completely, it's to remove your business dependence on you. Keep that distinction in mind because everything that follows is aimed at the dependence, not at you. What you should never hand off. There's a flip side to all of this, and skipping it is how founders tend to swing too far the other way and start handing off the things that should never leave their hands in the first place. Building a business that runs without you doesn't mean handing off everything overnight. A few things need to stay yours permanently. The first is the vision. You cannot delegate it. As Stanford Business School puts it, vision is the one thing a leader can never hand off because only you can see the full potential of what you're building and all the direction everyone else is moving towards. The second is the culture. It comes from the top or it doesn't come at all. The moment you outsource what your company stands for and how it behaves, it stops being yours. The third is capital, where the money goes. In The Outsiders, William Thorndike studied 8 CEOs who beat the market by a factor of 20. In plain terms, their companies returned 20 times more than the average big companies over the same time period. These were some of the most successful CEOs in the history, and they shared one habit. They were very ruthless delegators who pushed almost every operating decision down to the lowest level in the company, and they refused to delegate one thing: capital allocation and where the money gets invested. For a founder, that's deciding what you fund, what you cut, and where the next pound goes. That stays with you always. The fourth is your key hires, the handful of people that will run the whole part of your business in your place. Choosing them is always your call. Vern Anish, who has spent his career teaching founders to scale, puts it best. You can delegate everything but the soul of the business. Vision, culture, capital, and the key people. That's the visionary seat from the last chapter. The work only you can do. Hand off any of it and the business slowly stops being yours, even if your name is still on it. So when you're deciding what stays with you, here's the test. If you handed it to someone else, would it change what the company fundamentally is or where it's heading? If the answer is yes, it stays with you. If not, it can go. Guard those four and of almost everything else. Why you are still the bottleneck in your business. So why do capable founders stay stuck as the technician for years? It's rarely laziness. It's usually one of three things. The first is the lie that it's faster for you to do it yourself. In the moment, it is. Doing the task takes you 10 minutes. Explaining it might take you an hour. So you decide to do it. And you do it again next week and next week after and forever. You may have saved an hour once, but you pay it back every week for the life of that business. The second is identity. You build this. Being needed feels like being valuable. Handing over work can feel like being replaced or like admitting that the thing doesn't even need you anymore. Gerber called the root of this the fatal assumption that because you're good at the work, you'll be good at the business that does that work. They are completely different skills. Being the best plumber tells you nothing about running a plumbing company. The third is that you hire from overwhelm. You wait until you're drowning, then you panic hire whoever is available, hand them all the mess with no system behind it, watch them struggle and conclude that delegation doesn't work. It was never going to work. You didn't hand them a system to follow, just a mess that only ever made sense inside your own head. And staying the bottleneck has a real cost, not just a business one. In a 2025 study reported by Fortune, 87% of founders said that they were dealing with anxiety, depression, and burnout. The bottleneck isn't a badge of honor for you to be wearing. It's slowly breaking down the one asset that the whole business actually depends on, which is you. And here's the irony. You started this business for freedom, and being the bottleneck quietly takes the exact thing you were chasing: your time, your health, your life outside of work. Fixing it isn't just good for the business, it's how you get yourself back on track and be the best entrepreneur that you can. Let me give you a real case study. I worked with a nail beautician, genuinely brilliant at what she does and completely stuck. It was just her. Every client, every appointment, every set of nails, all done by her. She was fully booked and she was not earning enough because her income had a hard ceiling. The number of hours that she could physically sit on the chair, she convinced herself that no one else could match the standard, so she never tried to change it. She called it having high standards, but her standards were never the problem in the first place. Doing everything herself was the main problem. That was reason one. They believed that it's better to do it yourself, so she stayed in that chair for 6 days a week, working flat out with no way to grow. Keep her in mind because we will come back to how she got out of this mess. Stop asking how and start asking who. Notice the question you reach for when something needs doing. Whatever it is, the instinct is always, how do I do this? How do I fix it? Learn it, fit it in. It always feels like the responsible thing to do. It's also exactly what keeps you doing everything yourself in your business. Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy in Who Not How argued that this one question is the problem. Every time you ask how, the answer is you. You become the solution to everything, which is exactly how you end up the bottleneck that we just talked about. The shift sounds very simple and is genuinely hard to do. Stop asking how, start asking who. Not how do I do this, but who can do this for me? Those two questions pull in opposite directions. The how adds another job to your plate. The who takes one off. And that person almost always exists. Someone who will do it better and faster than you because for them, it's the job that they do it day in, day out. And for you, it's a distraction. Let me take a random example. You writing your own contract is an afternoon loss for you. For a lawyer, it probably takes them 10 minutes and they do it properly. This is where most founders push back. I can't afford to hire someone for everything. But the who isn't always a full-time employee. It's a freelancer, an agency, a tool, sometimes even a partner. And the most expensive hour in your business is the one that you spend doing work someone else could have done for a fraction of what your time is worth. There's even a deeper reason this matters. Sullivan calls it your unique ability, the one or two things you do exceptionally well that creates most of your results. Asking the who keeps you in that zone and lets other people work in theirs. You stop being average at 10 things and start being exceptional at the ones that actually moves the business forward. We'll pin down what this is for you in the next chapter. And here is what you get back. And it ties down to why you started in the first place. Sullivan and Hardy describe 4 freedoms that come from asking the who instead of the how. Your time opens up as your hours stop being the ceilings. The business grows faster because the right people take it further than you can alone. You stop carrying it all in isolation with a real team around you. And you finally spend days on the work that actually matters, the work that's yours. Time, money, people, purpose. That's the freedom that you started this business for. It doesn't come from doing more. It comes from asking better questions for yourself. Find where your time really goes. So let's pin it down. The one thing you should be doing and everything you shouldn't. You can't guess this, you have to measure it. For 1 week, track where your time actually goes. You don't need to be precise to the minute. Rough blocks are fine. An hour here on emails, a morning on the client's work. Most founders have never done this before and are genuinely shocked by the result. The majority of your week is almost low value work someone else could do, often for a fraction of what your time is worth. Now, sort that list into 2 piles. Things that only you can do, the genuine owner work, vision, key relationship, the decision that sets the direction, and everything else. Then find your constraint. According to Eliyahu Godrat in his work on the theory of constraint, showed that every system has one bottleneck that limits the whole thing, and working on anything other than that bottleneck is wasted effort. In a founder-led business, the bottleneck is almost always you, specifically the pile of work that only moves when you touch it. Everything else is stuck behind it, waiting on you. So the question isn't, how do I do all of this faster? Faster is a trap. The question is, what's sitting on my pile that shouldn't be there? Find a task that drains the most time and need the least of your actual judgment. That's where you want to start, not the hardest thing to let go of, the easiest high volume thing that's clogging the system. Put a price on your time. To decide what to let go of, you need a number. Dan Martel in Buyback Your Time gives the cleanest one I've found so far. He calls it your buyback rate, and here's the exact formula. Take your target annual income divided by 2,000, which is roughly the number of working hours in a year. That gives you your hourly rate. Then divide that number by 4. The number you're left with is your buyback rate. So if you earn, say, £200,000 a year, divide that by 2,000 and you get £100 an hour, divide that number by 4. Your buyback rate is now £25 an hour. The reason you divide by 4 is to leave room for a return. You're not just covering the cost of your time, you're aiming to get roughly 4 times back from what you free up. And the number climbs as you grow. At £500,000 a year, the same math gives you a buyback rate of £62.50 an hour. The more you earn, the higher the bar for what's actually worth your time and the more you should be handing over. Here's how you use it in your business. Any task that you could pay someone less than your buyback rate to do, you should be working to hand it off. If you can hire it out for £20 an hour, your time is worth far more spent elsewhere. Doing it yourself isn't saving you money. It's one of the most expensive things you can do as a business owner. Martel gives you a sharper way to sort all of this out. A grid that it calls the drip matrix. It lines up every task by two things: how much money it's worth and whether it gives you energy or drains it. That makes 4 buckets. The first is delegate. Low value work that drains you. I'm talking admin, email, invoicing, and it up first. Then replace. Essentially work that makes you money but still drains you. Sales, marketing, managing the team. You stay on those only until you've hired someone to own them. Then invest. This is work that pays little now but feeds you and pays off later, like learning, key relationships, and recovery. You protect this because it's you investing in yourself. And finally, produce. This is the work that makes real money and genuinely lights you up, the thing that you're brilliant at. That last one, produce, is your unique ability from the last chapter, and it's the one bucket you never hand off. The whole game is to spend less time on the first 2 and more time on the last 2. So your business should be investing in yourself more and producing more income. Stop measuring tasks by whether you can do them, measure them by whether you should be doing them. Document it once. By now, you know how to hand off things, but there's a step that most founders tend to skip on the way there, and skipping it is exactly why their delegation tend to fall apart. Before you hand over a task to anyone, you have to capture exactly how it's done. If you hand over the task without the method, they are set up to fail. So before we delegate anything, we have to systemize first. And the model for this is the franchise. Gerber's insight in the E-Myth was to build a business as if you were going to franchise it. Not because you will, but because a franchise has to run on systems, since head office can't be in every location. The standard is set is that the business should be able to be run by people with the lowest level of skill necessary, because the system carries the quality, not the cleverness of one brilliant person. That may sound like a lot of work for you to be doing. The old way of writing detailed manuals took forever, so don't write it, just record it. The next time you do a task someone else will eventually own, hit record and narrate what you're doing and why. You can do screen recording for anything on a computer, voice or video for anything physical. You do the task once the way you always do it, and recording becomes the first version of that system. Then just drop that recording into any AI tool and ask it to turn the transcript into a step-by-step standard operating procedure, or SOP. Within minutes, you will have a clean written process from a task you were doing anyways. What used to take a weekend of writing now will cost you no extra time at all. I want you to start with the task that you found in your time audit from earlier, the high volume, low judgment ones. Each recording is a brick. Stack enough of them and you have something that most founders never build, a business that knows exactly how to run itself, written down outside your head. Going back to our case study, this is exactly how the nail beautician got unstuck. She was right that her standard was high, but it only existed in her head and her hands, never written down. So no one else had anything to learn from. So we just recorded her doing a full set, start to finish, narrating every choice that she made. That recording became something she could finally hand over to the rest of her staff. A standard stopped living in her head and started living in a system. And the best part, they don't even need to come to her. That's what a system really does. It takes work that only ever lived in your head and makes it into something you can hand off to anyone else, with the quality staying even when you're not the one doing it. Delegate outcomes and not tasks. With the work captured in a system, you can finally hand it over. But there's a right way to do that and a wrong way, and most founders reach for the wrong one. The wrong way is to delegate the task that you need to do. You hand someone a list of steps, do this, then send it back to me to check. You're still the brain. They are just an extra hand in this case, and everything still routes back through you. You haven't removed the bottleneck, you've just made it even longer. The right way is to delegate outcomes. You own the result, not the steps. So rather than having a checklist, you hand them the outcome. For example, I need every new client onboarded within 48 hours and a confirmation in my inbox when it's all done. Then let your employees own the how. Focusing on outcomes is the best way that you can scale, because someone can run them without you. Tasks don't scale because they always come back to you. A good outcome has three parts: the result that you want, what done actually looks like for you, and when you need it by. Give them those, hand over the system you recorded in the last chapter as the how for them to follow, and you've set someone up to win without you in the loop. And there is an order to do it in your business. Don Martel calls it the replacement ladder. You don't just hand off randomly, you climb in a sequence. First, an assistant to take the admin away from your plate. Then, someone to own the delivery, the actual work of serving clients. Then, marketing, so leads come in without you. Then, sales. Then, finally, a leader, someone that can run the whole function without you in the room at all. Each rung buys back a different kind of time, and you climb the next rung only once the last one is stable. Most founders just try to jump straight to the top, hiring a senior person to fix everything while they're still personally answering emails. Start at the bottom, take the admin off first. It's the fastest hour you will ever buy back because it's the most time-consuming activity that you ever do in your business. Going back to our case study, this is where it turned around for the nail beautician. With a method now finally captured, she could train a team to deliver her standard. And here's the part that surprised her. She paid them generously and she still profited on every set that they did because the quality no longer depended on her to deliver it. This is all about delegating the outcome. She just told them, I want a great set of nails and happy clients, rather than standing over someone telling them which brush to pick when they're doing people's nails. Stop being the decision bottleneck. So now you've delegated all the work, but there's a deeper dependency that survives all of it. And it's one that quietly keeps you the bottleneck, the decisions. You can hand off every task and still be the person everything waits on, because the moment a real choice comes up, the team stops and turns to you. They have the work, they just don't have the authority. So you are still the bottleneck. Simply handing over the work isn't enough. If you're still making every decision about it, it takes up your time and prevents you from fully focusing on more important work that drives the business forward. Getting out of the way for real means handing those over to. The fix starts with a distinction from Jeff Bezos in his 2015 letter to his shareholders. It splits decisions into two types. Type 1 decisions are one-way doors. They are irreversible or close to it. Walk through and you can't come back. So they deserve your time and care. But most decisions, it says, are type 2, two-way doors. If the call is wrong, you walk back through it and try again. And the cost of the mistake is small. Most founders tend to treat every decision like a one-way door. Slow, careful, routed through them. This is what builds the bottleneck. The rule is simple. Keep the one-way doors, give away the two-way doors. Anything reversible, your team should be deciding without you. To make it concrete, for example, signing a long lease or letting a senior person go is a one-way door. That's yours to do. Which tool to trial, how to handle a refund, the wording of a proposal. There are two-way doors and they shouldn't be reaching you at all. To make that real to your employees, people need explicit decision rights, not a vague use your judgment to figure it out, but an actual line. Anything reversible and under, say, $1,000. They decide without asking you. Anything one way or even bigger number comes to you. And you need to also change how they bring you the rest. Not what should I do, but here is what I'm going to do. Tell me if you disagree or agree. Ask them to present the recommendation, not the problem. You need to be building independent thinkers that work for you. You also always have to let your employees be wrong sometimes. On a two-way door, the downside is very tiny. They get a reversible call wrong, you lose a little time putting it right, and they come out better at making it next time. If you hand them the answer instead, they never learn and make the call themselves. They just keep coming back to you. Bezos' own rule is to decide at around 70% of the information and course correct from there. If you demand certainty before anyone moves, you've just rebuilt that bottleneck for yourself. Hire before you are drowning. All of this, the systems, the delegation, the decision, depends on having the right people to hand it to. So let's talk about hiring them and the single biggest mistake founders make. And it's a timing mistake for when they hire. They hire from overwhelm, waiting until they're buried in so much work. then hiring in panic because panic is the only thing strong enough to make them finally do it. The trouble is a panic hire is always almost a bad hire unless you're lucky, and not a cheap one also. The US Department of Labor puts the cost at a maximum of 30% of that first year's salary before you even count your own wasted time. It usually goes like this. You're drowning in work, so you rush it. No research, no clear role, no system to hand over. Just please make this pain stop for me. They start, but you're too buried to train them properly, so they start to guess on what to do. The work comes back wrong, you redo it yourself, and now you're doing your job and babysitting the people that you've hired. A few months and a chunk of money later, you let them go and decide no one can do it like you. It's never a people's problem. You're hired in a panic with nothing behind them, and that almost always ends the same way. So I always want you to do the opposite. Hire before you are drowning, not after. Hire proactively when you can still afford the time to bring someone in properly against the system that you've already built. And always hire for the right things. There's a simple test for this, and it comes from EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, a full framework of running a business laid out in Gino Wickman's book, Traction. They call the test GWC. Get it, want it, capacity. Ask yourself this question. Do they get it? Do they truly understand the role? Do they want it? Is it work that they actually want to be doing? And do they have the capacity, the time, the skill to do it well? Miss any of these three and it won't work, no matter how much you like the person. Build the rhythm that runs it. At this point, you have the people owning outcomes against systems that you've built. The last piece is the rhythm that keeps your business running without you hovering over it, because if the only thing holding it together is you checking it constantly, you've just become a more expensive bottleneck again. 3 things will give you that rhythm, and the EOS lays them out cleanly. The first is an accountability chart, not an org chart of titles, a map of who owns what outcomes. Every key function has exactly one name next to it. One person is accountable, not a committee and not you. When everyone knows what they own, the problems never reach you and they automatically know what to do. The second is a scorecard. Pick the 5 to 15 numbers that tell you at a glance whether the business is healthy. Things like new leads generated this week, sales calls that are booked, cash in the bank, on-time delivery, refunds, or even complaints. Review them every week. The trick is to lean on the leading numbers and the ones that won you early. The amount of sales calls that you booked this week will tell you about next month's revenue before it lands. Revenue on its way only tells you after the fact. You're not watching the work, you're watching the numbers that reveal that work in the future. If it's green, you stay out of it. One goes red, that's your signal to look into it. The third is the cadence. A single meeting at the same time every single week. Keep it tight, where the team brings up the issues and actually solves them instead of every issue landing on your desk in real time. Most of that meeting should go on solving the problems, not status update. Run it every week without fail and the business starts to keep its own rhythm. Now you can watch your job within your business shift from doing and always chasing to reviewing and steering. That's what running a business without you actually looks like in practice. You haven't disappeared. The oversight is just built into the business now instead of forced by hand. Letting go without taking it back. Everything that we've covered so far fails at some point, and it isn't a systems problem, it's a you problem. You delegate the task, you hand over the decision, and then the work comes back at 80% of how you would have done it. So you take it back, you redo it, you correct it, you quietly start handling it again. Within a month, you're the bottleneck you worked so hard to remove again. So here's the rule that protects everything that you've done so far, the 70% rule. If someone can do the task 70% as well as you can, you have to delegate it. You're not chasing perfect. Most founders wait for someone that can match them exactly, which is never going to happen in reality. So they decide to own that task forever. And that person 70% today becomes 90% in a few months, but only if you leave it with them long enough to get there. People learn. The hard part is emotional and not practical. You have to accept that things will be done differently, but not worse. They will do it their own way. As long as the outcome is right, their way is fine. The moment that you take it back to do it your way, you're teaching them something dangerous. That thing isn't really theirs to do. That you will always be there to catch it and fix it. So they stop owning it, they defer to you, and the energy drains out of the work. And when it does come back at 80%, that's not your cue to take it over. It's your cue to coach them. Tell them what will make it a 90 and then let them try again. Do that instead of fixing it yourself, and the gap closes a little more each time for good, because the skill ends up in them and not in you. Letting go is not neglecting the important things in your business. You have to give them the tools, the training, and the standard to hit. Then you stay out of it unless a number tells you to look. That restraint, the discipline not to take it back, is what finally turns a delegated task into one that is off your plate for good, which is exactly what we're trying to achieve. An asset, not a cage. All of this gives you more than your time back. It turns what you've built in your business into a real asset. John Warrilow in Built to Sell puts it in one line: your business is only as valuable as its ability to run without you. Think about what that means for you. A business that depends on you 24/7 isn't just exhausting, it's nearly worthless to anyone but you. Warrilow reckons only about 1 in 100 businesses are actually sellable, and owner dependency is the main reason. The number backs him up. Of the businesses that go to the market, only 20 to 30% actually sell, according to the Exit Planning Institute. The rest are too tangled up in their founders to hand over. But this isn't really about selling though, is it? A business that can run without you is one that you can step back from when you're not feeling too well, take a real holiday, hand to a leader, or yes, even sell for a premium if you choose to. Every one of this is freedom. Every one of them is impossible while you're still the bottleneck. So you're not just buying back your hours, you're turning the thing that you built from a cage that needs you into an asset that serves you. That's the whole point. A job turns into a business that you actually own. Going back to our case study again, the nail beautician, she went from fully booked and capped, doing everything herself, to a salon with a team that she trained to her standard, running without her in the chair. Then she did something even more amazing. She turned her method into a course and now runs regular cohorts of students. She earns more from teaching her craft than from the salon itself. She didn't escape the bottleneck. She turned one pair of hands into an asset that pays her whether she's working or not. What to do next? You don't have to do all of this at once. You climb it depending on where your business actually is. Here's what you need to start this week. First, run the audit. Track your time just for 1 week. Sort it into 2 piles. Only me and everyone else. You can't delegate what you haven't seen. You need to find out exactly what they are. Second, work out your buyback rate. Your income divided by 2,000 divided by 4. Now you have a number and a clear line for what to handle first. Third thing to do, pick just one task. The highest volume task, the lowest judgment thing on your list. Record yourself doing it once. Let AI turn it into a written SOP. That's your first system. Done. And the fourth thing for you to do, take the admin off your plate. Your first hire up the replacement ladder is the one that buys back the most time the fastest. Start there, not at the top. Do these 4 things and you'll have started something most founders never do or even get around to doing. The deliberate work of making yourself optional, present by choice, not because the business can't run without you. If you want to see exactly where your business is most dependent on you and what to fix first, that's what my app Aseyi does. It's an AI business app. It scores the key systems every business runs in, operations included, and shows you where you're most trapped. It's free to download on iOS with a trial, so you can see your score before you even commit to any long-term subscription. A business that can run without you isn't just a fantasy anymore. It isn't about working less because you've given up. It's about building something that is strong enough to stand on its own. Start with the audit. Everything else can follow from seeing the truth about where your time actually goes. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If this was useful, hit the subscribe button. I have other training videos coming and you won't want to miss them either. Give the video a like so it reaches another founder that's stuck being the bottleneck in the business or just want to learn more about running a profitable business. And tell me in the comments which one of the 4 steps you're starting this week. I read them all.